Hey, Shopify store owners, especially if you're selling on Etsy too. Here's a quick question. Are people actually finding your products on Google? If SEO feels confusing, overwhelming, or like something you'll get to later, this is for you. I'm hosting a free 7-day Shopify SEO challenge that breaks it down into simple, doable steps. No tech headaches, no fluff. Join us at aiseoschool.com. That's school with a K, aiseoschool.com. 7 days, it's free, better traffic. Let's go.
I think that it is a real flex right now to say created with a human or co-created with a human. You're seeing a lot of creative developers and producers really going above and beyond to show that it was made by a real person. I think that now the pendulum has swung where at first people didn't really care, but now because it's so prevalent and everybody is getting on board and there's more content and things trying to grab our attention more than ever, what's really going to stick out, whether that's you directly or indirectly saying this was created with a human on the team or oversight, whatever way you can show that, either directly or indirectly, I think really will set you apart in the future.
Welcome to the Simple and Smart SEO Show podcast. I'm your host, Krista Waddell, here to bridge the gap between SEO strategy and real-world business success by bringing you insights, stories, and conversations from the SEO community and beyond. So grab a coffee or your favorite tea, and let's dive into smarter SEO for your business. Welcome back to the Simple and Smart SEO Show podcast. So happy that you're here with me. And of course, we are talking about AI, and I have a wonderful guest that I met at the recent PodFest conference down in Orlando. I'm here with Brooke Grammer, who is the host of the How I AI podcast. Brooke, welcome to the Simple and Smart SEO Show. I'm so glad that you're here today.
Thank you, Crystal, for having me. I'm so excited. You're my very first pod collaboration swap. I'm so excited to be on your show. I've actually never been on a podcast myself, so you're my first.
Yay! Podcast guest, first timer. I love it. So I hope you have fun today. We talked a little bit pre-show, and I'm pretty laid back, and I just want to pick your brain about all your genius. So you said that you've been podcasting for about a year. So I was just curious, what made you start How I AI podcast? What was the motivation behind your beginning?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a marketing background, and I find guiding, leading, and facilitating conversations to be just a natural born skill of mine. So podcasting was the next best step for me to just really lean into this amazing platform and, networking. It really is such a great tool for any business owner. And when I thought really deeply about what I wanted my podcast to be, it really was the conversations that I was having over dinner consistently in my peer group. I've been quite involved in self-learning AI for the past couple years. I really delved head deep into it after attending a local mastermind here in Miami, and around the same time, Mind Valley was doing one of their free AI seminars virtually, and I really grasped the sheer urgency of I need to start to learn this now. And what better way than to tap into industry experts weekly?
Oh my gosh, you're so right. I have found this to be the best networking tool of all time.
Yes.
And I think it helps too to come from a genuine place. There's some smart ways to do this as well to grow your business, like interviewing people you want to work with and all that type of stuff. But I'm a lot like you. I just felt like the conversations that I was having with people deserved to have more of an audience, just so people, number one, wouldn't feel alone in their quest to learn AI and this just all of this digital revolution that's happening all around us. It's okay, let's plug into conversations with each other, bounce ideas off. It would just be terrible for the ideas to be stuck in this room. So my partner and I, when we started the podcast a few years ago, we said we want people to be able to be a fly on the wall. And then I just fell in love with SEO and search engine optimization and everything, website building. And this was my career after teaching. I started out in SEO because I had an Etsy shop. Etsy was recommending my competitors, and I realized it was time to have my own website. And so I fumbled my way through that. And now I show Etsy sellers how to do the same thing. But SEO came into the mix in 2020. And after that, I was like, oh, this is the bridge that I've been missing and I've been looking for so long. And of course, like you said, there's no better way to learn it than to go talk to the people who are the best known SEOs in the world. So yeah, you're among great company. I guess I said all that to say you have some amazing company on this podcast. But one of the things that I loved about your perspective on AI is just the danger of depending on AI too much for content creation and the internet sounding the same. And so that was my question. What was the moment that you realized, oh no, the internet is starting to sound the exact same?
It definitely was when the M dash came along and everybody started noticing that LLMs were favoring M dashes. Some more than others noticed it, and eventually it became a full-blown cultural topic and conversation on how, oh, we can tell you're writing about AI. Fast forward to where we are now, it's very prevalent and top of mind. Am I reading something that was just AI generated? And I think there's two sides of the coin to that. I think that we cannot discredit someone that puts a lot of thought and intention behind the input and the prompt that they put into AI before receiving copy back, and not just completely discredit what they used AI to co-create. And then there's the other side where people are just, really quickly not putting thoughts behind it. And you can tell it all starts to sound the same when you haven't trained your AIs in your own unique brand and personality. People want to feel like they're connecting to you. So it's really critical right now to be training your models and your data with your unique brand voice.
Yeah. And I was so torn for a while that I was like, even on my LinkedIn post, you can go back about a year and you can see that I put something like co-created with ChatGPT. And then I saw somebody say, people don't care like where it came from. They just want it done. And so I went back and forth with that. It's like, how much do you share with people, especially people that you're working with, or if you're making a post or whatever? Do you think it's important to say, this is how I generated this? Or is it just that you were a part of generating it, so therefore you can take full credit for it?
I wanted to coin the phrase, not a bot, and just kind of be putting that like in my profile. And because things are changing so quickly with AI generated models, AI generated influencers, I think that it is a real flex right now to say created with a human or co-created with a human. You're seeing a lot of creative developers and producers really going above and beyond to show that it was made by a real person. I think that now the pendulum has swung, where at first people didn't really care, but now, because it's so prevalent and everybody is getting on board and there's more content and things trying to grab our attention more than ever, what's really going to stick out, whether that's you directly or indirectly saying this was created with a human on the team or oversight, whatever way you can show that, either directly or indirectly, I think really will set you apart in the future.
You've also talked about like this hive mind.
Yes.
People use it without anchoring it in real customer language, which is another thing I love, because you can create custom GPTs and gems and different things to sound like you. Why do you think so many websites end up sounding so polished and wonderful, but yet they're so forgettable?
Great question. I think that now we're at the point where being polished and presentable is the bare minimum. It's no longer hard or inconsistent or rare. And so what's the next step to stand out in that type of crowd? You kind of see this with Gen Z coming in and them being the anti-millennial, where we came in with our perfectly curated grids and everything was minimalist with beige and neutrals. And now Gen Z's like, really coming on and they want to make it seem like you're just jumping into their life and it's not polished. So there's always going to be a reaction to what seems to be consistent and what everybody else is doing because you want to be memorable. You want to stand out. So it's really, of course, aligning with your values and your brand and your goals and thinking of how can I really be distinctive when everybody else can just very quickly vibe code and create a website in just a minute.
A couple of things crossed my mind there because you talked about everybody's meeting a new standard now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in SEO, there's the clickbait title of like SEO is dead. And it's no, actually, basic SEO is like table stakes. It's this understood that there's certain things that you are going to do just to stay competitive. And so I think that kind of reinforces what you just said. And then I think about my son who's Gen Alpha, and he's very colorful. Like he loves colorful shoes. He doesn't need to match. Drives my husband insane. But he is so colorful and I want color everywhere. But I'm a Zennial. I'm right between Gen X and millennials. So I tend to trend towards the muted color and I love grays. My whole house is grays. And so brands are maybe not realizing that it's not just about losing rankings with SEO, but it's also like losing recognition, not having any sort of, what's that word in marketing where you have that thing that's different from other brands that makes you distinguishable?
Yeah, I like to say your unique intrinsic value, brand distinguishers.
Exactly. Okay, you've said that SEO is shifting from keyword tricks to be the best answer in the clearest language.
Yeah.
What changed to make that true now?
I think to your point of SEO and how people are showing up differently online and being distinctive. When you think about that hive mind, and it's so funny because that TV show Pluribus is really popular right now. It's on either Apple TV. Like we're all pulling from the same main brain, right? And so we're all going to get the same keywords and generated answers, but it's really tapping into your audience and thinking about what are the keywords that they're using when they're speaking to their friends or when they're searching for something online. You want to really speak in the terms that your customer speaks in. For instance, I was working with a recent client dental office here in South Florida. And their goal was, of course, to be, the number one result on ChatGPT. And we went through their website and they don't necessarily have an FAQ section yet, but they have a lot of places where they're answering questions, but in a very polished, dental forward way. And I don't know about you, but when I have something going on in my mouth, and I'm looking it up, I'm not using dental terms. I'm very run-of-the-mill with the language and terminology that I use. And so when I talk about changing from keywords to what people are actually saying, thinking about the full-on key phrases and questions that they would ask as if they were sitting and speaking to their friend very candidly. And that's the type of language that you want to use, really getting into how people are speaking day to day. I always say keep it at a 6th grade, 8th grade reading level. Be very specific and human and how you use your copy and how you want to be coming up in for instance, LLM search result.
I think about a time where I was doing a page for a chiropractor, and again, GPTs, I've created this semantic analyzer that I love, but it's very blunt. Like it's not, I care about your feelings. And I forgot to tell him before I sent it that it was very blunt. I thought we'd had that conversation. Unfortunately, I didn't. And it hurt his feelings a little bit because on his homepage, he was talking about the jargon of chiropractic care, right? Mm-hmm. And then also the fact that he is a functional medicine doctor. And so the message got a little convoluted because, like you said, when people think chiropractor, they think, I need to get out of pain. How fast can you get me out of this debilitating pain that I'm in?
Yes.
And so that semantic alignment was just whacked out because when people are searching to get out of pain, they're not interested in that deeper dive of functional medicine. And it was really funny because he loved the feedback, at least in terms of, okay, I can see how that is. But he was like, dang, that was harsh. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot to tell you. I have an analyzer, a tool, a GPT that I use that gave us that feedback. And it's very straightforward.
Yes.
But I think so many times, like when we're in our business, we know all of the professional reasons why it's so great. But it's connecting, like you said, to that customer language that's so important, because what are they actually trying to solve for? And how can we provide meaning back to them?
Yes, exactly.
When we think about using AI to extract customer language, not just replacing our voice, where do you think that we could be pulling that customer language from?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So you can pull language if you have any group or community boards. Say you have a Facebook group or a Reddit group, or people that are consistently commenting on your social media, really getting that language and terminology, even maybe transcribing calls and discovery calls when clients call you, and any type forms or data surveys that you use to get information on what people are seeking, really like paying attention to the languaging that they use. And you can gather all this data and really upload it to AI and then kind of have it read it back to you and say, what are the maybe repeated phrases or problem statements that my clients are using? And this is going to help you get more clear on those more relatable, quote unquote, keywords to be using.
Such great ideas. So how do you tell the difference between voice of customer versus generic AI voice? Because if I'm someone who's listening to this right now and I wanted to take the lazy way out of it, I might give that prompt to an LLM and be like, what are people saying about this? What do you think is different from the genuine customer voice versus what AI might give back to you in terms of what they think people are saying?
Yeah. So when you are pulling all this data and you have all this information, that's when it's your time to really train the model. And when you have all these examples, this is the data that feeds the machine, right? And this is when you can be really clear on your prompts and write maybe voice or terminology rules. You want to give it a tonality. You want to tell it what not to say. If there's any words you want it to avoid, say for like client sensitivity, you don't ever want to use like fear words. Maybe for that dentist, I was just thinking about, you don't want to scare them off with any words that make them, it's sensitive going to the dentist. A lot of people fear it, and being mindful of that. So once you have your core audience defined in one sentence and really what their problem set is from all of this data, that is when you can use the prompt and training your models with this information. And that's really going to set you apart from someone who isn't taking that step to really tone the brand voice of their AI.
When I did this analysis for the chiropractor, his differentiator is that he's mobile. And he's mobile and he doesn't take insurance. He just charges a flat fee. So those were two interesting things that he had about his brand. But in the semantic analysis, there was a suggestion that, hey, instead of explaining why you don't take insurance because you sound defensive, take this approach. And it also reminded me of sometimes people are scared to go to chiropractors. So It's like, what can you do to help people feel safe? And you're not going to come out of here worse than when you came in. I don't think that we consider that fully sometimes as business owners, that people need that comfort and reassurance in our copy as much as anything. And I think that client language is such a great tip to help people understand that.
Definitely.
What about writing for how people actually search? I do try to, sometimes things are above my head. Like even when I think about semantic SEO and semantic analysis, those are big words. Those are jargony words that I need sometimes broken down a little bit more. Why do you think it's such a big unlock to bring the language down to a lower level, say 6th to 8th grade even, which is probably a little too high for me.
I think that is the way that people are speaking day to day when they're just doing basic research and seeking solutions. It's all about the environment. Obviously, if you're at a networking space or you're attending a conference, your vocab is going to go up just based on your environment. But when you're one-to-one having an inner dialogue and seeking third-party resources, you're going to want things really clear to be able to move forward. So that's why in marketing, we always talk about 6th grade reading level. And yeah, it's really, how do you find us answers and thinking about those exact problem statements that people would use and getting in the head. And whether that's just doing some focus group study, old school calling your customer or doing research and getting on the phone and speaking to real people about, hey, what are your pain points right now? Podcasting, is really great to have these conversations, getting behind the scene look of how people are really expressing themselves when it comes to seeking solutions to their problems.
Yeah. And as I think about the professions with websites, the professional professions, if you will, the doctors, the dentists, the lawyers, one client comes to mind who was a clinical researcher. It's okay. These websites become that much more of an extension of them personally and professionally, but it's not LinkedIn. And so you're not talking to your peers or your colleagues. You're talking to that person you serve. And how have you walked that line between someone saying, hey, this is my professional outward expression, but I want to maintain some level of professionalism persona to the outside world, but yet attract the people that need my help, which are not they're not my peers.
Yes, I think that in the AI era, a lot of people are coming up against their ego right now. We're all having to relearn and we're all novices again. And maybe you've been the top of your industry, but the quicker that you can pivot and translate what has worked in the past to what is working now without losing your core essence. Obviously, there's ways to really still seem like a thought leader and a trusted resource, but still be able to meet people where they're at when they're wanting to work with you and learn more from you.
Hey, Shopify store owners, especially if you're selling on Etsy too. Here's a quick question. Are people actually finding your products on Google? If SEO feels confusing, overwhelming, or like something you'll get to later, this is for you. I'm hosting a free 7-day Shopify SEO challenge that breaks it down into simple, doable steps. No tech headaches, no fluff. Join us at AISEOschool.com. That's school with a K, AISEOschool.com. 7 days, it's free, better traffic. Let's go.